Rory, you gave us such great information about how you work your way around a golf course, in particular a tournament round. But before you go out and play a tournament round, there's a lot of preparatory work that goes into that on the putting green and on the driving range. This is sort of a behind the scenes look at what you do before you actually go out and play a round of golf.
Yeah, so this is where I would start before I do anything, or say I start warming up an hour and 20 minutes before I tee off in a tournament round of golf. I start on the putting green, and when I get to the putting green, this is sort of usually what it looks like. My caddy Harry will come out, he'll set the mirror up on try to find the straightest putt on the putting green, and then from there I'll go on and do this spiral thing where I start at 3 feet and work my way around to 8 feet, and I have to hold all of these in a row before I can go and hit some balls.
Tell us what you're looking to get from the mirror there.
Yeah, so basically I know that this is set up pretty straight, it's set up pretty good. So for me, all I'm trying to do is, the line on the putter should match this black line on the mirror.
Yeah.
So you're aiming correctly. And then for me, everyone's different, but my eye line is just a little inside the ball. And I know where my eyes should be on this mirror, so I set up and I get myself into that position. And then from there, I just try to make a good stroke, and hopefully
you want your eyes on the inside part of the ball?
Yeah, just inside the ball.
And the reason for that is it encourages an arc to the stroke?
It encourages an arc, and that's where I personally see a straight line from better. That's where we talked about this earlier about me being right-eye dominant. If I'm too much over the ball, I need to turn my head a lot to see, where if I'm inside the ball a little bit, I can see down the line better. So that's where I see a better straight line from.
But are you a little open with your setup at all, or are you square?
A touch open.
A touch open.
A touch open.
Okay, I got you. So you're just going to hit a dozen putts or so, sort of get the feeling of where your eyes are, and making sure that the putt is straight.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, I guess, the putt doesn't have to be exactly straight.
And when you're looking at the line on your putter versus the line that's on that mirror, are you looking for that to arc to the inside, or does it go straight back?
When this comes away, I'm trying to make sure that it goes inside that line.
Just a little bit?
Just a little bit, a little inside it. So I basically just do a few sets of this, make sure everything's in the right spot, hit some good putts, make sure I'm starting it on line.
Right. So when you're doing these drills, you're not necessarily worried about missing or making them, are you? You're just getting a point of reference?
I'm getting a point of reference, but I mean, obviously you'd like to see them go in rather than not going in. And I think once you start to fill it up a little bit and you get comfortable with it, then you move on. You know that you've got your feelings for the day and you've got your point of reference, and you move on to hitting some real putts.
Right, and that's where this sort of staircase, this spiral staircase comes in.
Yeah, exactly. So this is something I've been doing for a few years now, and it puts you under a little bit of pressure. Again, I'm all for, when I'm warming up or practicing, making sure that there's some sort of consequence to what I'm doing. So I need to hole all of these in a row before I can go to the range and hit golf balls.
And these are set up at 3, 4,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8 feet. And they're different putts, right? So, I'm starting, and I'd say the first 3 putts here are left to right, and then the last 3 putts are more right to left.
And so are you saying that you need to make all these in succession?
Yes.
Before you leave?
And if I don't, I go back to the start and do it again.
Well, I mean, couldn't a situation arise where it would take an inordinate amount of time to
It shouldn't, because once you've hit these putts a couple of times, you should know what they're doing.
Right,
so,
right. So there's a little pressure on you.
There is, yeah. There's a little bit.
You'd like to get it done as soon as possible.
Try to give yourself as much time as possible before you go hit balls.
Rory, here we are on a par 3. So take us through this. This is a little over 200 yards. What is your whole thought process as you come up on a par 3?
You've got a perfect lie for a start, so you should be able to play whatever shot you want. It's all about hole location, You know, sometimes, you know, playing to the middle of a green in a par 3 is a pretty good idea. This par 3 today, the pin's up on the back shelf, but there's a backstop, so, you know, I can be pretty aggressive and sort of go straight at this.
So we're a little over 200 yards here, a little less than 170 to the front.
Yeah.
Well, what would you hit here? Wind's down a little bit.
Normally I'd hit 7, but with that little ledge at the front, and I've got quite a backstop behind it, I'm just going to cut a little 6 in there.
Started at the middle of the green, and
Started
are you
at
a
the
guy
middle.
that starts at the middle of the green, it spins on the right, and work it there?
I try to.
And then draw it into a left pin?
I try to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
All right.
I always, you know, I keep saying if I were to hit a straight shot, it would never get into much trouble. That's what I try to do.
All right. Well, let's see that play out here.
All right.
That is beautiful. Go in. Go in. I don't know. Did it go in? It looks like a tap in from here. Scale of 1 to 10. What was that? What did we get that?
8, 9.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
You're a tough.
pretty good.
You're a tough critic. You're a tough critic. Let's go see if we can make the putt.
Perfect.
So many GolfPass members write in and they want to sort of find that ideal balance of how to improve. I mean, do you stay on the range? Do you get out on the golf course? I mean, where is the balance there between block practice and situational aspects that you need to get better at?
Yeah, so, you know, I think block practice is okay up until a certain point, but, you know, golf is the only game that I can think of, or any sport, that you actually don't practice on the playing field that you're playing on.
Right.
So I'm a huge advocate of get out on the golf course as much as you can, because that is, you know, essentially that's, you know, you can hit balls all day and you hit them good on the range, but, you know, you have to do it out on the golf course. So for me, you know, once you feel comfortable with your technique and you're hitting it well and you're doing all the right things, just get out there and play. But then once you get onto the golf course, I think you have to forget about what you've just done on the range and you know, do that enough so that it beds in naturally, so that you can just think about hitting shots when you're out on the course. So for me, I've always thought that some of my best practice sessions, or even if I have a practice session on the range that doesn't go that well, I'll just try to get out on the course and see if I can figure it out there, because that's where your creative side starts to come out. And I'm definitely more of that way than technical and trying to hit the perfect shot time after time.
You didn't get much of a break here, Rory. I thought this thing would release and be right next to the hole. So you got, what, 20, 25 feet here?
Yeah, something like that.
What would be your green reading process? Take us through the whole, from walking onto the green until you hit the putt. What would you do?
So I think, as you just made a good point there, I think it starts by, you know, you're walking up onto the green and you're automatically seeing all the contours and where, you know, if you poured a bucket of water down in the green, where it would run
Great
to.
visual, yeah.
So, you know, I'm already looking, I'm seeing that this putt's going to go right. Obviously it's a little downhill. It's not much downhill, but a little bit downwind. So you're taking the wind into consideration as well.
So this putt's headed that direction.
It is. So I would always go to the low side. So I'll always go to the low side of the hole. And I like to see it from, you know, sort of triangulate the putt, you know, from me to the ball to the hole, and sort of just see everything. You can see these greens are Bermuda. It's dark what I'm seeing, so I know that the green's going to come this way as well. It usually goes with the slope. And then I'll go behind it, see if I can see anything, so I can see a little bit more about what the ball's going to do closer to the hole. You know, this is gradually just going to go right for the most part. I mean, it's not as if it's a double breaker or it's got a lot going on. It's just basically got one gradual slope going from left to right. So you're just sort of, another visual that I like to do is if I were to imagine if I were, and this is sort of, it sounds negative in a way, but it's worked for me. If I imagine starting this ball straight at the hole, where would this ball miss? How far would it miss to the right?
Yeah.
So I sort of look and say, okay, if I hit this straight, I know that this is probably going to miss a good 18 inches to 2 feet right. So I adjust and go, okay, if I were to start this 2 feet left, would that have a chance to go in? And you try to visualize that. I've a pretty good idea of what this putt's going to do. So I've got a point up at the hole where I think that's where I need the ball to start. And then I try to get my intermediate point.
You follow that point all the way back down to your ball?
Yeah. And I've got it here. So again, I'm just looking straight at this intermediate target. I line up to that. And then I get myself set. And then I go.
Oh, come on.
And it goes in.
You really are the #1 player in the world. First take. That's twice today. We've only hit 2 putts, first take. That's what he does. That's why we're here. That's why you're here. Rory, we're on one of the more interesting holes here at Admiral's Cove. It's a drivable par 4, 270 today over the water, 286 to the hole location, but it's cold and it's windy. What do you think this is playing? Would you give this a go?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably playing 315, 320 to the pin.
So that's pretty much at your upper range of carry distance.
It is. That's with, warm conditions. And so, I mean, if I were going to go with this pin today, I mean, I'd take driver, but I'd make sure if I was going to err one way or the other, I'd miss it on the right. So.
Well, since there's no penalty for giving it a go today, it's too tempting
not to give it a go.
Not to have a go. All right, just as you said, you give yourself a margin of error.
I did.
Favor the right side. Give yourself a little wiggle room if you don't just absolutely smash it. So Rory, for the mere mortals out there, myself included, no way they're going to take this on, obviously. There's a more conservative route, and how would you sort of coach them into taking that?
When you are hitting a layup shot or you're just trying to put it into position, people can get a little casual with that. For me, with a layup here, a more conservative play, you got to really be honed in on your target. And sometimes with a layup, what I like to do is try to imagine a pin in the middle of the fairway, sort of like a par 3, and try to hit some sort of shot onto that. Hit a long iron out there and get yourself into position where you can hit a wedge onto the green.
So what is this? It's 286 to the hole, but that's as a crow flies.
Yes.
The circuitous route is going to take us out here to the right, so it's probably closer to 320, 330, something
Perfect,
like that.
yeah.
So what are you looking at out to the right?
Yeah, so out to the right, I mean, I'm trying to hit something on the left edge of this bunker here. Today, I would say maybe like a 3-iron, and then you've got a wedge up over to the green.
Your typical carry yardage with a 3-iron is...
Typical carry yardage with a 3-iron is about 245, but today is probably going like 210,
right,
215.
Okay, at this point, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
245.
Yeah.
That was a 3-wood in my day, and that's an average person's driver, by the way.
Yeah.
Are you picking a specific tree or a spot?
Yeah, actually a specific tree. There's actually 2 trees that are very close to each other, just left of the bunker.
Yeah, I see them. Yeah.
That's
your line.
That's my target.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a low bullet, and it's in the fairway. And we're going to go up and now play this hole like the mere mortals play it. And I'm sure you'll dazzle us from there. And here we are, Rory. Your layup put us 100 yards to the front of the green, 117 to the hole. These are scoring clubs, scoring option.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot goes into hitting a proper wedge shot. I mean, you got to flight it, and you got to put the right amount of spin on it. Let's approach this from a couple of different directions. If you wanted to put the maximum amount of spin on this shot and draw it back to this hole location, what would you do first?
Firstly, I need to work out, okay, how far do I need to pitch this ball beyond the pin? So if it's 117 yards and we've got a backstop behind it, you know, I'm thinking I need this to go at least 20 to 30 feet by. So that's an extra 8 or 10 yards.
Right.
So that's 127, and then back into the wind, and it's cold today. So that 127 is really playing 140, 145. So I think I could probably hit a full pitching wedge beyond the pin and let it come back.
Let's have a look.
All right.
There it comes.
There you go, coming back off
There
the
it comes.
slope a little bit. Maybe too much.
Whoa, right there.
Woo!
Whoa.
Still going.
Good gracious.
Wow.
Well, that's a dilemma we're pretty familiar with. At least we are. Not you very often. There's so much guesswork in these types of shots. The uphill lie into the wind, how much the green will spin back. You know, it just happens sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, for sure. For sure. And that's when you hear guys talking about controlling the spin, controlling the trajectory, especially when you do get soft greens and fast greens and greens that roll back into the water. That's when you have to really be precise and control what you're doing.
So the other option then would be to hit a shot here with hardly any spin.
Yep.
Versus the shot with a lot of spin. What alterations would you make in your setup, ball position?
If I'm really trying to take spin off it, I'm trying to clip it. I'm trying to sweep it off the top of the turf instead of, you know, hitting this, you know, big divot and I'm putting a lot of spin on it. So, you know, if you are clipping it, you know, you sort of need to take an extra club and swing it easy. And people talk about it being like a dead arm shot. I like that term because, you know, I think being quite passive through the ball, you know, you're not going to get as much spin on it, and it's going to, you know, it's going to just hold where it lands on the green.
So for the spinny shot, you were choosing a pitching wedge. For the less spinny shot, we're going to try to take some spin off of it here. What would you hit?
Yeah,
9,
so
8?
9 iron.
9 iron.
Yeah,
All
I'll
right.
take a club less and,
All right.
and try to hit a little dead arm 9 iron and get it to not spin.
All right, let's see it. That had the right sound. That's beautiful. So that's wedge play. We got some short game shots up ahead here. Let's go take a look at those.
Perfect.
You're what, 20, 30 yards short of the green and maybe a 30, 40 yard shot. So sort of walk us through how you would approach hitting this pitch shot, how you visualize where you want to land it, what you expect it to do from there. How would you get into this shot?
Yeah, so with me, with chipping and pitching, I always try to pick a spot where I want the ball to land. You know, my landing spot, and then from that landing spot, I can think about the trajectory that I want the ball to go on to land there. The spin, you know, once it hits the ground, what it's going to do, how it's going to roll out, break of the green, all that stuff. So with here, we've got a little bit of a rise up to the green, and then it sort of flattens out. So I want to pitch this on the flat part. So probably between 6 and 8 yards on the green, on the flat spot, and then it should take a couple of skips forward and check and get up there pretty close to the hole.
Are you looking at a spot, a window, or the apex of your trajectory? I
pick a spot first on the green,
okay,
and then from there I work out what trajectory I need to hit that ball so it lands at that spot and gets close to the hole.
Then gets close to the hole.
Yeah,
right.
But I'm always looking for a spot first.
So in this particular instance, where are you looking?
So I'm looking. So there's a dark green spot or dark green patch on the green that's on that upslope, and then the grass starts to get lighter.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to just pitch it up on that light stuff. I mean, I'm sort of looking at somewhere like up in here is where I'm thinking.
Trying to land it right there and then
Yeah.
just let it feed out to the hole.
Yeah.
Gotcha. When you're getting your routine in putting, you don't make practice strokes. Is that the same with wedges?
No, I'll always make a couple of practice swings and get a feel for the length of
And
swing
how the
I need.
club's going to interact with the turf.
Yes,
Right, to
that
get
as
some
well.
sense of that.
Exactly.
Okay. Beauty.
Ooh, stop quick.
So in your preparations hitting wedge shots, taking a look at the landing area, it's very important, isn't it?
It's very important to get, I think the closer you get to the green, the routine and the preparation you have to hit the shot is almost important as the execution. If you know what you're going to do and you know that you're gonna, where the ball's going to land and you visualize it and you've seen it and you know what it's going to do when it rolls out on the green, then you can go ahead and make a more committed swing and hit a more committed shot.
I've seen you putt today. I'm giving you that, all right?
Thank you.
That's another birdie.
It's very, very generous.
And I was also giving you a big thanks for joining us out here today. It was
My
really
pleasure.
nice, and I want to thank Admirals Cove because they were great hosts, obviously.
they
so
were.
thanks to Admirals Cove, and thank you for joining us right here on Playing Lessons.